Hello and welcome to Todd Rolls Dice, where today we're back in Ghyran for day 10. Scourge of Ghyran, Kharadron Overlords. Yes, that's right, it's everybody's favourite steampunk dwarves, but they're here with ether tech upgrades. So we're going to skip over Adam and his lore. I'd love seeing Adam back, I think that's really cool. But we're here for the rules. So what do we actually have? Auction 1, Lot 1, as you would expect from the Kharadron Overlords. Their Gyranic upgrades are entirely materialistic, taking the forms of Artefacts of Power and Skyvessel Upgrades. Their latest ingenious inventions include the Emberstone Flare, which can be fired skyward to help Skyvessels and Kharadron-wearing Endrin packs to relocate to safety or a more profitable position. Then there's the return of the much coveted Spell in a Bottle, which is exactly what it sounds like. Magically uninclined Duradin can unleash a manifestation upon the battlefield. That's quite cool. We recommend the Chromantic Cogs, Kharadron-like cogs. Our favourite artifact though is the Cast Banner Ether Powered Combat Rig. Its name alone conjures images of durability, efficiency and Kharadron reliability. Yours for only 10 Kammonite Ether credits. 8 if you pay in cash. Auction 1, Lot 1, Amendment 2, the Skyvessel upgrades are equally impressive feats of engineering if your profiteering endeavours are plagued by enemy spellcasting, and look no further than Voidstone Repulse events, which can nullify and even reflect damage back at enemy wizards. That sounds interesting. Then there's the Zonbar Corp Deal Breaker Battle Ram, which is ideal if you need to move the enemy out of the way with some degree of force. Getting hit by a flying ship has never been more painful, and insurance sales are more lucrative. Last but not least, it's the Blazebeard and Sons Ejector Pod. This unusual device launches a nearby hero out of harm's way. Patent is still pending, but it's handy in a tight situation. They're very materialistic, they're very deal-focused, auction-based. None of this works for me, but it is cool that they're trying to write this in a Sigmar-y, like faction-specific style. I appreciate that. Auction 2, Lots 3 and 4. The last sale of the day is for 2 new war scrolls. The Grundstok Gunhauler has been upgraded with more powerful Endrins, sacrificing its transport capability for the ability to run and shoot when fielded alongside other Gunhaulers, then move again in the shoot phase. Move, shoot, move, that's quite nice. This makes these nippy sky vessels particularly useful when grabbing treasure, by which we mean objectives, shiny, profitable objectives. The buck-armed Codewright also has a new war scroll. It keys into his absolute adherence to the code. As the battle progresses, the Codewright becomes increasingly more vexed with the enemy's disregard for the rules of engagement, encouraging nearby Kharadron to teach them a lesson with a few warning shots. So we have a couple of battle profiles that we will touch on as we go through the faction pack. Right, that's it. Auction over. No more Kharadron war gear to spend your hard-earned ether credits on. And if you've got a pilot T flying around though, come back tomorrow, because you might find yourself a bargain. We're also going to have another look at some of the exciting changes to the GHB. So we've got GHB updates, and it will be Iron Jaws tomorrow, which is cool. I'm still waiting for my Slaves to Darkness GW. But let's take a look at this faction pack, shall we? Faction update, Kharadron Overlords, Artefacts of Power, Ingenious Innovation. So we've got 3 as mentioned. We have a once per battle your hero phase, Spell in a Bottle. Effect, this unit can use a summon ability from the manifestation lore you picked during the army composition as if it had Wizard 1. Instead of making a casting roll for that summon, the casting roll is 7 and cannot be modified. That summon ability cannot be unbound. Interesting. I quite like that. We have a passive, the Cast Banner Ether Powered Combat Rig. Effect, this unit has a 5-up ward. In addition, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the unit's melee weapons. That sounds like a fun one. And finally, once per battle your movement phase, the Emberstone Flare. Pick a friendly Kharadron Overlords unit that has fly and is not in combat to be the target. Effect, remove the target from the battlefield and set it up again wholly within 9 inches of this unit and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So it's a quick get out of trouble for a fly unit, but you can't do it while they're in combat. So you can't pull them out of combat, which is a bit of a shame, but okay. I mean, there's a use for it. I don't think it's necessarily the best one, but like I say, I don't know the Kharadron Overlords as a faction. I think all of those sound pretty good from what we've gone over recently, and the ones that I do know, they sound like quite nice artifacts of power. So this is incredibly unique to this faction, the Skyvessel Upgrades. So Skyvessel Upgrades are enhancements that can only be given to sky vessels. We've got 3 reaction. A friendly unit within 12 inches of this unit has been picked to be the target of an enemy spell ability. You can pop your Voidstone Repulse events. Effect, roll a dice. On a 4-up, ignore the effect of that spell on that friendly unit and inflict D3 mortal damage on the caster. This unit can use this ability more than once per phase, but you can only roll once for each friendly unit per spell cast. So if your opponent is using 3 spells on 3 different units, you can do this 3 times. But if it's 3 spells on the same unit, you can only block 1. Okay, I like that, because that's quite a strong ability. But then it's got that built-in balance. That's quite nice, I think. Once per battle, any combat phase, Blaze Beard and Sons Ejector Pod. Declare, if this unit is in combat, pick a visible friendly Kharadron Overlords hero wholly within 6 inches of this unit to be the target. Effect, remove the target from the battlefield, then set it up wholly within 18 inches of this unit and more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So I suppose that's your get your hero out of trouble card, isn't it? And finally, any charge phase, the Zonbar Corp Deal Breaker Battle Ram. Declare if this unit charged this phase, pick an enemy unit in combat with it to be the target. Effect, roll a number of dice equal to the unmodified charge roll. Each 4-up, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. It's not always going to go off, it's not always going to be an incredible number, but that's a really cool way of doing like tank shock. I quite like that. I quite like these on the whole. They're fun, they're themey, but they actually bring something to the army, which is cool. So our first war scroll for the day, the Grundstok Gunhauler, 14-inch move with a 3-up save, 10 health, 2 control. We have ranged weapons, Sky Ordnance, 15-inch range, 3 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, 2 rend, 3 damage. Melee weapons, bombs and boarding weapons, 4 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 4s, 1 rend, D3 damage. 3 abilities, first one, passive transport capacity. This unit cannot transport any friendly units. Our next passive, Attack Squadron. Effect, while this unit is wholly within 12 inches of any other friendly gunhaulers, it can use the shoot abilities even if it used the run ability in the same turn. So it's like having assault for 40k, isn't it? Okay, I think that's quite nice as well. But if you are going to be, I don't know how many different variants of Gunhauler there are, but with these new data sheets, you can have 3 of these, for instance, but you would have to have 3 of the same data sheet. You can't mix and match between the 2 data sheets. So if you're looking at it that way and building out into having 3 of them, you can do that quite nicely with 3. Or if there's other variants of the Gunhauler, like I say, I don't know Kharadron Overlords. I mean, that's quite a nice ability, and they do have a lot of movement, so run, you could move them around quite quick. I think that's quite good. And finally, any shooting phase, fighter vessels. Effect, if this unit used a shoot ability this phase, this unit can move D6 inches. It cannot end that move in combat. Move, shoot, move. So they have assault if they're within 12 inches of another gunhauler. They have a D6 move, shoot, move, and they have quite a nice ranged weapon attack. Keywords War Machine and Fly, Order, Kharadron Overlords, Dwarden, and Skyvessel. And the Gunhauler is 140 points, Regiment Options, Dwarden, Skyvessel, War Machine. 140 points sounds... I'm guessing you'd run a few of these, but 140 points sounds quite reasonable for what you get. So we do have the faction pack for the Kharadron Overlords, so we'll jump over to their base war scroll now. We'll take a look and we see what we think between the 2 of them and which one you're more likely to run. And over on the faction pack, it's a very different looking war scroll, isn't it? Okay, so what do we actually have here? The Grundstok Gunhauler, 12-inch move, 3-up save, 10 health, 2 control. Ranged weapons, we have quite a few more. So the Ether Shot Carbine, 12 inches, 2 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, shooting combat. The Sky Cannon, 15-inch range, 2 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 3 damage. And the drill cannon, 15-inch range, 1 shot, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, 3 rend, 3 damage. Melee weapons, we have boarding weapons, 4 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 4s, no rend, 1 damage. And this unit is armed with ether shot carbines, boarding weapons, and one of the following, so you pick your sky cannon or the drill cannon. I suppose it depends what you're going into, but I think the drill cannon is just very nice. That 3 rend is very nice indeed. We have 3 abilities, 2 passive, 1 movement phase. Your movement phase, light bomb racks. Declare pick an enemy unit that does not have fly and that this unit passed across this phase to be the target. Effect, roll 4 dice. For each 4 up, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. So potential to do extra damage. I know this model now. Yes, I've seen these rules before. I know what we're talking about. I think that's just quite a nice little additional damage for a unit that you cross over. You have a passive transport capacity. This unit can transport 1 friendly Kharadron Overlords infantry unit with a model count of up to 5. See battle traits. So it gives you some transport abilities. Is that that might be a big loss. It depends on how fast the stubby little dwarf legs would take them, or if you're focused on fly. I don't know. That's interesting. That's quite a big change on the war scrolls though, isn't it? Final passive, escort vessel. Effect, while a friendly Orknaut ironclads or Orknaut freighters are within this unit's combat range, both this unit and those friendly units have a 6-up ward. Which is a nice extra to have as well. Obviously you've got to be running the Orknaut stuff, and you've got to be very close to each other, let's be honest. But 6-up ward isn't bad. Keywords, War Machine, Fly, Order, Kharadron Overlords, Duradin, and Skyvessel. And the base faction pack war scroll is also 140 points. So what do we think between them? So the Ghyran one has an extra 2-inch move, which is quite nice. You're not paying any points tax on it, which is pretty good. The difference is you lose transport. Your weapons are, well, they're a mix of the two, aren't they? So you don't get to pick between the sky cannon or the drill cannon, but you do just gain a base single profile. Bombs and boarding weapons is better. It's a lot better. +1 rend and D3 damage instead of 1 damage. So that's quite nice. Attack squadron and then fighter vessels, it gives you a lot more maneuverability when you're just looking to shoot. They are just a gun platform now, then no transport or anything. I don't necessarily think that the question is which is better. Again, this is what I really do think the Scourge of Ghyran event is doing really well. It's giving you extra options. So you could take the faction pack one, have a bit of transport, you've got some good weapons, you get your 6-up ward if you're within range of the Arcanaut stuff, but it really is just a buffing piece, isn't it? It can be quite offensive, but it's probably not going to be the focal point of your attacks. Whereas the Scourge of Ghyran one is quicker, it's built into maneuverability, and it hits hard, but you lose a lot of the buffing ability that the other one has, and you can only take one of these war scrolls. It really depends how you want to play your army. But as a counter to that, almost a year into the new edition, not knowing when Kharadron are going to get their battle tome, probably soon. I think they were on the roadmap recently, but this gives you a whole new way to build an army into a certain way of playing, and I would argue the Scourge of Ghyran one is much more aggressive and offensive and much faster, whereas the faction pack one gives you a little bit more survivability for surrounding units. I like both, in all honesty. They're very different things, and I love that they've taken this idea to twist it and make a different variant. And from somebody who loves to kit bash, you could take the Gunhauler, give it a massive gun, and make it so that it looks more like a gunboat instead of a troop transport. So the same kit, you could tweak it and change it to actually look very different and almost have 2 different variants. Not that you could run them together, but still, that, from that side of the hobby, I think that that's really cool. I like both of these. I think it's tough to choose, but Kharadron Overlord players, let me know what you think in the comments. Now we're going to take a look at the Codewright. So he's a 4-inch move with a 3-up save. No ward, interesting. 5 health, 2 control. Ranged weapons, ether shot pistol, which has shooting combat, a 10-inch range, 2 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage. Melee weapons, a battle tome, befitting a man of, well, a dwarf of his stature. 3 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 4s, no rend but D3 damage. a dwarf just smacking you around the head with a book. I think that's worthy of D3 damage. He's got 2 abilities. Any hero phase, I'm watching you. Effect, give this unit D3 vexed points. And his other ability, once per turn, army any hero phase. Alright, listen up. Declare, if this unit is wholly within a friendly non-hero Kharadron Overlords unit, pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. Then, choose to spend either 3 or 6 vex points. Effect, pick one of the following effects to apply to the target for the rest of the turn. Do you see how fast they're going? If you spend 3 vex points, subtract D3 from the target's move characteristic. If you spend 6 vexed points, halve the target's movement characteristic. Interesting. And depending what you're pointing at, that could be very tasty. And those weapons are against regulation. If you spend 3 vexed points, subtract 1 from wound rolls for the target's combat attacks. If you spend 6 vex points, subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of the target's melee weapons, and subtract 1 from the wound rolls for the target's combat attacks. Keywords: Hero, Infantry, Order, Kharadron Overlords, Duradin, and Skyfarer. Interesting. Is 110 points, regiment options, not to one Skyvessel, any infantry. That's quite a cool, and obviously themey for the character and the faction, but quite a cool little war scroll there. I quite like that. Let's take a look at his base faction pack variant. Okay, so standard faction pack war scroll, Codewright, 4-inch move, 3 up save, 5 health, 2 control, Aether shot pistol, range 10-inch, 2 attacks, hits and wounds on 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage, shooting combat, melee weapons, battle tome, 3 attacks, hits and wounds on 4s, D3 damage. 1 ability, once per turn army, your hero phase, adversary roll. Declare, pick up to 3 visible friendly Kharadron Overlords units to be the targets. Effect, roll a dice for each target, and on a 3-up, pick one of the following effects to apply to that target for the rest of the turn. So instead of debuffing enemies, he's very much buffing your own units. So first option, seek new prospects, add 2 to the target's control score. It's nice. Don't argue with the wind, add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls for the target. It's useful, and there's no trading with some people. No mortal damage is inflicted on the target by retreat abilities. Keywords: Hero, Infantry, Order, Kharadron Overlords, Duradin, and Skyfarer. And this version of the War Scroll is 80 points, so quite a difference. So what do we think? So there's a 30-point difference. You're not gaining any extra movement, health, there's no ward saves or anything, no fancy weapons or any changes there. So you have the ability to generate D3 vexed points any hero phase, which leads into the other ability, but because it's only D3, you've got a ceiling of 6 per turn, but if you roll badly, you're not guaranteed to get anything off. So while these are quite nice, and certainly at the 6th level on the move, just halving, half a Demon Prince's movement, half a Varangard unit's movement, anything big and tanky that has a lot of movement, just half it, that's really good. I think the 3 vex points for subtract 1 from wound rolls is quite nice. I'm not like rend. I like extra rend, I like being able to negate rend. It's quite expensive to do 6 vexed points, which you could spend 3 turns racking up just to get that, so I'm not entirely sure you'd go for that all the time. Halving movement or just subtracting D3 movement could be very crucial. But he's not actually buffing any units, he's debuffing the enemy to a degree. His survivability hasn't changed. He's a very different war scroll, isn't he? I suppose that's the thing. Again, it's just a different way of playing. I think for the 30-point difference, I prefer the standard War Scroll because he just has that ability to buff 3 units, and there was some nice extra bits in there. Extra control is always going to be good, and being able to retreat from a fight and not take damage situationally could be crucial to keeping your unit alive. So I like both War Scrolls. I think this Scourge of Ghyran Codewright maybe just isn't as good as the other one, but that's purely based on the points. I think these are fun abilities. Again, they're very themey abilities, and you could have fun doing them and just slowing down enemies and really just making enemies regret doing anything. But again, it's how you want to play and how you want to build into your army. On the whole, I quite like this faction pack. There's some fun stuff in the Skyvessel Upgrades, there's some fun Artefacts of Power, the units. There's no obvious better, there's no obvious weaker, it's just a different way of playing. I think both War Scrolls, well, all 4 that we've looked at today, you could use all of them. There isn't really a bad thing there. I think the Codewright points-wise is a bit pricey, but then we're seeing a bit of a points increase on some of this stuff. So I will be interested to know actually if this edition of, you know, the new GHB and this new season or whatever we're calling it, we're going to see a points increase to units again, which again fundamentally changes the game and how you want to play, and might mean that you want to take more stuff, more cheaper but hard-hitting stuff, or you want to go big on buffing units. And yeah, I think the more that I see of these faction packs, and they are match play legal from the next General Handbook onwards, well, for that period, that 12-month period, I think what we're actually starting to see is a shift in characters and in-game abilities and things. You're not losing, I mean, we don't know what battle tomes are going to be for faction packs that haven't had their battle tome yet. We don't quite know how rules are going to change from like inbuilt balance and options and things. But from what we're seeing here, the Scourge of Ghyran stuff is really interesting, and a lot of them, not everyone, because some of them, some of the War Scrolls, some of the units are just, they're either obviously better or obviously worse. But there's a good percentage of them that is giving you new ways to play with these units that you've had for potentially years. And I think that's great. But let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.